Going to be talking about the future of jobs with the new reports that have come out around artificial intelligence and automation and what that means for the future of jobs. So we're going to be looking at some of that new research and then talking about what, right? What do we do? How do we help our clients make sure that they're still employable and able to achieve their professional and personal goals as we move into the future? And that falls in a little bit with what do we know about this future of skills, the skills of the future that we will need. So drop a note, say hello if you're watching this live or the replay. We're here every Tuesday talking about the now, the new, and the next in careers. And we look forward to your thoughts and questions and any other topics that we can cover as we go through today and in future weeks. So shoot me an email or drop me a note. Let me know that you're joining, and I look forward to interacting with you. So let's think about what you might be doing in your job today and what that might look like in the future. So write me in the chat one thing that you could see might be automated or semi-automated. So might use technology to do one thing in your work in the future, or maybe something that you've recently started using automation to do in your work. Hi, Ellen. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I'd love to hear just one thing that you're seeing in your work that you've either recently automated or a way that you see technology hitting your work already. Because when we think about it, none of us are immune. We haven't been immune for a while. And a lot of this has been going on for a long time. We've been talking about automation for a long time. I was actually thinking that I need to drop in a link from an interview I did, oh man, way back, and with a recruiter talking about how you can still be employable and in high demand even as technology is coming in. And that was, I don't know, at least 6 years ago that we did that interview talking about how to differentiate yourself from technology. And now we're talking about that at just a different level now that this new technology has come in. So drop me a note and let me know where you're seeing technology impact your job. And we are going to take a little gander at some of these great reports. This first one is from McKinsey, and they are putting out reports all the time. I love to look at their stuff and just to think about, what does this mean for us today? What does this mean for us now? So I will put that in the chat, and I'll also show it here on the screen in a minute. Oh, I love this. Writing your show notes for your podcast. Yes, Valerie, I don't know if you're using a tool for that. We're using Cast Magic. I love Cast Magic. I'll drop a note in the chat on that in a little bit. Cast Magic is awesome. It's magical. Exam questions appearing online and using AI to formulate answers. And, I've been hearing professors talk about this. And I think it means that we'll just have to adjust how we assess, how we educate. We'll have to assume that our students are going to use those tools. And how can we maybe even encourage them to use the tool, but then encourage them to think about outside of that. So I know you're going to use AI to do that. Here's the parts you use AI to do, and then here's the parts that you need to, share your reflection. Testing and assessment is going to have to look different. Yeah, it's going to have to change, which for educators is challenging because we don't really, as we'll see, one of these graphics talks about how educators don't make that much money to go back and totally redo all of their systems. They don't have the resources perhaps to do that, but yet they're being pushed to do it as well. Thinking about some automating posts for social media, excellent. And then that can focus more on engagement, right? Instead of spending 15 minutes thinking about what I'm going to post or writing my post, I can have that post scheduled, and then I can be in engaging instead of focusing on what I'm going to post that day. And I actually think it can create a lot more positive outcomes from our social media engagement when we are putting it in ahead of time. Not that you're just going to post and ghost, because that doesn't work, especially on LinkedIn. But instead of focusing my energy and my time on the post that day, I can have the post scheduled and be focused on engaging right around the time I think my post is going to go, or I've scheduled my post to go, and then it will do well, but I can focus my time elsewhere. Excellent. National assessments for credentials will have to change. Yes, exactly. A lot of that's going to change. Tracy from Charlotte, thanks for joining us. We're glad to have you. All right, so let's dive into this first report from McKinsey, and this one looks at the future of work in what we know as AI and especially generative AI is coming into the workplace. Now, this report's really nice. They give you the highlights. It's talking about that occupational shifts were happening before the pandemic. And then, of course, the pandemic, we saw the great resignation or the great shift, whatever people want to call it. But what we were seeing a lot is that, yes, AI is coming in and automating some of the things. We're also seeing some structural changes around how jobs are done and what jobs are done in legal and in demographic shifts. So we have to remember that we've got a lot going on. It's not all just about automation. You also have changes in the way people are legislating activities that causes business change. And then you also have the huge demographic shifts in many countries because of some of these changes. And so we see 12 million occupational transitions needed by 2030. I'm going to go back and look at a different graphic of that here in just a little bit. But it also talks about how we're going to need more ways to connect people to employment and to help people make those transitions. So, what's the biggest deal here? Let me put this up on the screen real quick so that you can follow along if you'd like to. And we will get that in there. Excellent. Okay. So this is McKinsey's work on jobs of the future. I love their graphics, just looking at the resilient and growing occupations and how we're seeing that growth come out. Um, and I'm going to scroll past this one because there's one that's a little bit better, talking about what's going to change and what's going to grow. And, we see employment shortages. Will those stay? When we look at demographics, a lot of it has to do with where you're at in the world. And of course, in America, we are tending to the older ages. We're not having as many kids. And so we are seeing in the US some of that attrition. Of course, it's being opening up opportunities for people in other countries where their demographics are different. So we've seen this shift, and I love this graphic right here. It looks at the hit and declining jobs over here on the left, and you see food services. Just pay attention to these numbers as I scroll through. So it says 99% of workers earn low wages in that group. So it's declining. People left that and didn't want to go back. And that was by choice in a lot of ways, right? People left that career, then they don't necessarily want to go back. Customer service, 95% of people earn low wages. And you can also see some of the other categories there, the retail, cashiers, hairdressers. So in each of these areas, we get a little bit of dive in. Production, 83% earn low wages, laborers, production helpers, etc. And then in office support, you've got around 80% earning those low wages. So those are the ones that are declining. You may have people that are struggling to find jobs in those areas, and those are also jobs that will be continually hit by automation. Then you come over here to, let's start with the stalled but growing, stalled but rising. Construction, carpenters, painters, drywall, 30% earn low wages. Education, and this goes into our teachers, and your preschool teachers comes up on here. I can't scroll down or I'll lose you, but you can check out that. 30% earn low wages. Community services, there you go. Rehabilitation counselors, correctional officers, and then others, you've got coaches, computer repairers, maids and house cleaners, and 65% earning low wages there. So you were thinking about how could people from this gray area on the right move into some of these areas on the left where it's blue, business and legal, 0% of people earning low wages there. Health tech, 80%, which I think this is just something we've got to figure out, right? These people need to be paid more. Your nursing assistants, your childcare workers, that something's got to give in those areas, especially as the population ages and we want to attract people into those roles to be able to take care of the people that are aging, or so that we can have kids and be able to keep our population numbers or whatever. So that one's something I feel like there's got to be some pressure on those wages at some point. And then here you've also got the other growing truck drivers, school psychologists. There's kind of a big category there. So when we think about where we are and where we might want to go, or where we might have someone struggling to find work, where could they go? I find it's interesting. I've got the STEM professionals here, computer analysts, computer programmers. So we do see some growth there as well. But a lot of it is the shift from one industry to the next, maybe even from some of those consumer industries into business, legal, healthcare. So not just thinking about what the job does, but the industry in which it lives, and how can we help people make those transitions and really understand what the transition might look like. And that's our goal, right? Is to help people move from some of these places where there isn't as much growth into places where there is more growth, and they can make that connection. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to change roles. They might need to change industries, or they might want to change industry while staying in a similar role. Because remember, when we change industry and role, it gets harder to do that. So changing that industry but staying in the same role. So those customer service people, et cetera, what similar role could they play in a different industry, or changing that industry, but changing the role, but trying to stay in the same industry. So if we could move up, or we can make a transition, or we can change companies but not have to change industries when we're changing roles, there's that opportunity to not be as challenging of a transition. So the last piece that I'll pull up here, and love to hear your thoughts. What do you see? What jobs pop out to you? But this is talking about automation adoption in these jobs, and how automation was coming without generative AI, and that's the gray dots are that automation was coming anyways, and then the blue dots is how generative AI has accelerated that. And so you see for all of these different jobs that the automation was coming, and now it's been increased based on this. Now, further in this report, kind of more in the words, it talks about how these will be adoptions, not necessarily replacements. And I know that right now we are seeing some jobs being kind of eliminated because of AI. And I'm hearing that, I'm seeing that. Are you seeing it as well? Drop a yes in the chat. Are you hearing people talking about how jobs are being eliminated because of technology? What we see in kind of the bell curve of things, right, is that right now we're on this increase and everybody's figuring out how they can use it. But then there will be that natural decline where we'll find its place in business, and we'll say, okay, these are the things we're going to use generative AI or automation to do. And we still need those jobs. We still need those people to do those tasks, to support the AI or to run the AI or whatever it might look like. And that will come. So I feel like we're seeing some jobs being eliminated right now because of automation that may not be eliminated long term. They may come back, perhaps, obviously not at the same numbers, but they may come back because the people will figure out, oh, AI can't do all of that. I've been playing around with AI image generation, just trying to I'm trying to make a logo, trying to turn my son's pictures into a logo for their new YouTube channel. Watch out, they're on their move. And so it's horrible. Oh my gosh, I should show you some of the very bad pictures that it comes up with. It's not there yet. And I don't know if it will be, but organizations may have laid people off thinking, okay, generative AI can write this or do this or create that. And they might soon figure out that it's not the quality, the level, whatever that they want. And so they'll bring someone back in. They may be hiring experts that know how to do that, know how to make that useful, or they may just go back to using the people instead. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I do know we're seeing that, we're hearing that, and then where will that sticking point be? Because I don't think we're there yet. So that's just important, because then we had this new research from Pew that came out just a few days ago. And this is kind of a strange language that they used, the percent of workers exposed to AI on their jobs. And so it's important that this is not talking about jobs being eliminated. It's talking about people having exposure to, or being, using AI in their job. And so it looks at the workers that are going to be doing that, men versus women. And you might say, oh, more jobs for women are going to be eliminated. Remember, that's not what this is talking about. It's saying more of the stereotypically women jobs are the ones that are incorporating AI. So it's not about replacement, it's just about that exposure. It's a strange word. Um, and so then it goes through, workers that are exposed. It's interesting, if you have a degree, you're more likely to be using AI on your job. Not again, not necessarily more likely to be eliminated or replaced, but just more likely to be using it in some way on your job. And then we see that those with more education, women, Asian and white, and higher wage workers. Again, if you look at this next to the McKinsey data, it almost looks like it conflicts because McKinsey says that the AI is going to replace more of the low wage jobs. This is talking about exposure, not replacement. And so it's saying that more of these high wage jobs will use AI in some way, which some of you demonstrated at the beginning of the call already today. And then it talks a little bit again about exposure. High exposure does not mean high probability of being replaced. Maybe some of those tasks in these jobs, and then thinking about what that means. And then it kind of goes through that, the job loss. And we just really don't know, right? We don't know what jobs will be lost and what jobs won't be lost because of AI. All we do is know what jobs might be able to use it. All right. So thinking about that, we've got, yes, people are taking their tests with cameras on. Had that in this household during the pandemic and the MBA class that was going on. So thinking about how all of that will change. Then we go, okay, so what does that mean for the skills of the future? And we talk a lot about the people skills that are important. Will you be able to engage with people or have the collaboration that technology will enable but can't do for you, and have the people skills that are required? I think there's also some strategy pieces. So AI can come up with strategic suggestions, but someone has to know whether or not those are good ideas, right? And so I know product management is a huge area that they're using generative AI to come up with strategies and do research, and it's awesome. But you need the human that has the experience, the industry experience, to be able to say, are those things legit? Are they where we really want to be? Are they ideas we want to implement? And usually there's still some tweaks required, right? Because it doesn't know enough in that strategy role. AI is going to do a lot, right? There's a lot of marketing strategy, marketing research that it's going to be able to replace. But when it comes down to the final of putting the strategy together, you'll need someone. You'll need someone to do the human interaction piece of it. And you'll need, of course, people to manage the implementation of it and use technology effectively to make that implementation go smoother. And that's what we want to think about for our clients. A few weeks ago, we talked about how we have this core, and I call it your personal brand, right? Your unique promise of value, this core of who you are and how you add value in everything that you do. And when you know that, then you can be able to switch these industries, maybe adjust to a certain type of position because you know where you are. You have that confidence in what you can bring and what you can deliver. And Kimberly Spate and I today, we were talking in our certified hidden job market class about this idea of posture. And Kimberly always talks about posture, that we want to approach our work and our networking and really our life from this place of really understanding how we add value to the core, right? Not because we perform a certain way or we get a certain feedback, but that we to the core believe in the power that we bring, in the power that we have as a human to impact others, to impact the world around us, to make a difference in whatever way we want to make a difference. And that's why I love this concept of personal branding, is because it's really about believing and owning your value and not waiting for outside forces to validate you. And when you can do that, of course, we're still paying attention to feedback. We're adjusting because of feedback that we get. Tomorrow, I have my own little spell with that because our 360 Reach class, so the 360 Reach personal brand survey, is an opportunity to get 360 feedback. And we're teaching that class right now. We have our second session tomorrow, and Susan Critton is going to coach me through my 360 reach, which I know some of you on this call were so kind to give your feedback on me. And that's what we've got to do, right? We take the feedback, but we can't let it impact that core or that understanding, that owning of the fact that we as a human have value. We bring value to everything that we do. And the more that we can articulate, the more confident we can be, and the easier we can switch around when we need to and meet those market needs. So I'm going to be taking in my own feedback tomorrow and trying to implement it and really do better at those things that people are giving me feedback on, because I can see the strengths and use my strengths to do those things better. And so when you're thinking about, you do have something you need to work on, you always want to consider your strengths and how can you leverage your strengths to do those things better, to do those things in a way that's more effective. And so I've been experimenting with some technology, because strategy, technology, right? Some of my strengths, how can I use those to build up and bolster and fill some of these gaps that people are giving me feedback on? So I love that. Yes, believing in and owning your value. And it's really got to come from that core and help people feel like they're grounded, feel like they can really approach their work and their life and their business with that posture. And that's what I love about it. So next week, next Wednesday, our live class starts for the Certified Personal Brand Strategist program. Susan Critton runs that program. I know many of you have probably taken it. If it's been a while, we do have a refresh program where you can come in the classes and kind of refresh your brand. Brand is always evolving. So it's been a while since I'd done the 360 reach, and I was excited to see how things have shifted. And man, man, has it shifted since I did it last time, because we grow and we evolve and we allow people to see a different part of ourselves as we own who we are. We allow people to see that different part of ourselves, or maybe strategically open up a part of ourselves so that people can see an aspect of us that will help us get where we want to go. Still has to be authentic, but it also is strategic. We are going to be talking about resume topics. I've had a lot of resume topics coming in on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching our YouTube channel, please comment. I do watch those. I'll get back to and comment to you, but I also am adjusting our content for the next few weeks to answer some of those questions. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, drop us a comment. Thank you when you do that. I love it. And we will see you next Tuesday, right back here on Trend Tuesday, talk about the new and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone.